Hello, hello, hello. Hello from love, power, consciousness. I love that title. How's your 2026 going? Mine's going pretty good. Look at me. I have another video. It's coming out. Hey, hey, hey. 2 in 1 week. Alrighty. I got to stay on track with this. So what would I like to talk about today? How is your 2026? Are you feeling any different? I know I am. I'm feeling like I really want to take care of business this year. I want to do what I have in my heart to feel to do, to bring me abundance, well being, and prosperity. I now believe that I have the power to do it through my creativity and through my conversation. That's the route I'd like to take. I mean, some people may like to take through their ability to create in other ways. Like, you can sing, you can dance, you can write, you can speak, you can teach, you can do all kinds of things. You can assemble, you can build, you can do all kinds of things. You name it, you can do it. And we got a whole new world to create. Yes, that's what I've learned from my spiritual awakening. By the way, are you going through a spiritual awakening? And if so, leave a comment. Tell me what your spiritual awakening is all about, because you know what mine is all about? Mine seems to be all about all of my childhood questions being answered. I once asked God as a child, how are people able to think of a way to ask me the question if I believe in God? Do you understand what I mean? I wasn't worried. I already had a knowing of God. I was already talking to God before I went to church. Because I remember going to church and then went home and I was talking to God. I guess we were talking to myself. I don't know. But to me, I was talking to God. And I asked God, how come the people at church are asking me if I believe in you? How are they even able to ask the question? How are we able to think? That's what I asked God. And I was like 7 years old. And I was interested in the answer, but I had forgotten about it. But this spiritual awakening had me remember, because early on in the spiritual awakening, I had it on my spirit that what was being revealed to me is that God is the power of the mind, or the power of the mind and God are one. And when I was younger, I wanted to be a psychiatrist because I came from 2 different kinds of families. One side was very structured, the other side was very free-flowing. And one was very religious, like black and white religious, like very religious. And so I used to believe that the other side that partied and drank and everything, they were going to go to hell because they weren't going to church. And I, as a small child, and that really, really, really confused me, because I loved the side of my family, both sides. But I really did love the side that drank and partied too, because it was fun. It was free. It was flowing. I liked that. The other one was obedience, and you got to follow rules. You got to follow the church, and it was okay, but church people like to talk about each other, and I didn't like that part of it, about it. And it was starting to feel like a club, like, we are the righteous club and everybody else are beneath us, and I didn't quite like that. And so I had a secret warfare going on within me. That's what I thought started off the spiritual awakening, when I gave God an ultimatum and told him to reveal to me who and what he was, who or what he was, or else I was going to throw religion including Jesus Christ, away. And no, that wasn't happening according to God. I got some revelations. Boy, did I get revelations. First of all, when it came to the thinking, God revealed to me what I think it's called orthodox thinking. And because I once heard that orthodox thinking meant right thinking, meaning the right way to think. And God revealed to me the right way to think, which is to open yourself up and let God do the thinking. And you resonate with what the divine intelligence or the Holy Spirit. And then you end up resonating the right kind of thoughts that will come up through you. And then, that's one thing. I don't think that we are creating our thoughts. I think we are resonating with an all-knowing divine intelligence. And that is coming in and creating the thoughts. But we think we're doing it. No, 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 no. There really is a God. And there's proof. Science has already discovered the proof, but they don't know that they discovered it. But I know. And I'm going to reveal that in my book. I don't think I'm going to reveal it on here because I want, something for you guys to read about and say, because I'm probably going to talk about everything else that's in that book. But there is a right way of thinking, and it is to open your brain and your heart and your core. Each of them are intelligence. They have electromagnetic field. The heart actually has a greater electromagnetic field than the brain. And this is what I came to understand. You know how we say thoughts and feelings? Well, I don't think they're different. I think they're both frequencies and vibrations resonating with the all-knowing mind. But one is coming through the brain, the same intelligence, one divine, all-knowing. And when it comes through the brain, we call it thoughts. When it comes through the heart, we call it feelings. When it comes through the body or the core, we call it instinct or intuition. All of it is divine intelligence from the Creator. Oh yeah, yeah. That's love, baby. That's a new kind of way of love. That's God love. Has some intelligence within it. Therefore, religion and science, they're going to awaken. They're not enemies. They're not opposites. They're brothers. Brothers and sisters. Probably. Yeah. It's very interesting. And I absolutely believe I am 100% not wrong, because I know of scriptures. I don't have them handy right now, but hopefully, I'll get more prepared and I'll have them for you. Or I got them in the book. There are scriptures that are backing up what I'm saying. It's just that you never thought of them that way. I'm going to help you think of them in that way. And my goal, okay, so you know that I'm not trying to steer anybody off path, okay, who may be Christians. And I got a special spot in my heart for Christians, because I feel like they fear a whole lot of things. They're fearing too many things. And we're not supposed to have a fearful spirit if we're really in a healthy, happy, whole, one relationship with God, personal, intimate relationship with God, which means through your brain, through your heart, and through your core, through your whole being, resonating with God, with love, divine love and wisdom, divine awareness, wisdom, and presence. That's another Trinity. That's a Trinity. Awareness, wisdom, presence. Awareness would be God the Father. Wisdom would be the Holy Spirit. presence would be Jesus Christ. Or presence could be God the Father. Wisdom could be the Holy Spirit, and awareness be Jesus Christ. But this, what I'm trying to, another Trinity is the brain, the heart, and the core. That's our Trinity. That makes up our soul. Or self. Look at me, I'm just saying these things. I don't know, those who don't know. Okay, you understand what I'm saying? See, that's the thing, I've been learning from doing the videos already. I've learned already. I understood, and writing this book, I understood that what I was calling self, subtle energy life forces that were connected to the brain, the heart, and the core, or the will, and I was calling that subtle energy life forces, which is self. And then I was Googling, and I asked a question about soul, and I heard it said something like the ancients believed the soul was our personality, our will. I was like, oh, that's the self. That's what I was talking about as the self. So the soul is really the self. Anyway, I'll have it all in this book, okay? It's hard for me to really, I'm not an expert in it yet, but I'm getting there. So, yeah. So, I don't even know why I was talking about soul and self. But, well, went right on past me. But I am trying to make sure that Jesus left us 2 great commandments. And I bet you a whole lot of people don't even know what they are. A whole lot of Christian folks. They just know, they know the 10 commandments and they know everything else. But they're probably, some probably do, but there may be a lot of young ones that don't know. What do you mean Jesus had 2 commandments? There were 2 commandments that he said all the prophets hung on. So in other words, the whole Bible and all the other ancient texts of all the prophets hang on these 2 commandments. I don't know it off by heart, but it was like, love your God, your Lord God, with all your mind, heart, or all your heart, mind, and soul, something like that. So it was in relation to love God with your brain, your heart, and your core, the Trinity within you. And how you love God through that Trinity is to be open to God. When God, you know how they say God knocks at the door? Well, you got to let him in. And you let him in through surrender or gratitude. Take your pick. Or curiosity. You want to be a scientist about it. You know, but you be open to an objective understanding of things, not just a subjective understanding, not just your understanding, but the understanding of the seen from both sides and the unseen. Now, how do you do that? You definitely got to calm your mind down, the human mind down, your human thoughts. Can't have no noise up in there, so that you can open yourself up for divine thoughts to come in. Have you ever seen that? There's a little poster meme from Facebook I got a long time ago. Ooh, I wish I had it handy. But it was talking about, I met an old man one day, and he had $1, and I had $1. And he said, I said this in another video, so if you're hearing it again, I apologize, but this is good. Now, the old man had $1, and I had $1. And he said, let's exchange dollars. So then we exchanged dollars, and he ended up with $1, my dollar, and I ended up with $1, his dollar, because we kept exchanging it. You know, we exchanged it. That goes for everything on this planet, anything physical. If you have one and I have one, and we exchange them, we end up still with one. Now, this is where God comes in. Intelligence, all-knowing, consciousness. So imagine if I had one thought and you had one thought and we exchanged those thoughts. What do we have? I have two thoughts. I have my thought and your thought. And you have two thoughts. You have your thought and my thought. And then between you having my thought and I having your thought, and then we give each other another thought each, we could come up with another thought, a bigger thought. So consciousness can expand through equal exchange. And it'll keep compounding and keep on growing and keep on expanding. That's some magical stuff. Okay, so we shouldn't shake our heads at that. We got to look at consciousness a little deeper. That's a superpower. Okay? And that didn't come through by accident. That came from God. That's why it's hard for science to wrap their heads around God, because we're thinking of a form, or a form. The religious folks are thinking of a form, and perhaps the scientific folks are thinking of a formula. And they need perhaps need to focus on a breath. That's where the answer is, in the breath. Yeah, we'll get into that another time. But in this time, when I was saying about the greatest commandments, that's my, and actually that was the first one, and the second one was, and love your neighbor like you love yourself. So what was revealed to me in my spiritual awakening, first it was talking about the power of the mind. Then it went into self-love. And so it gave me an understanding that love and wisdom go together. And it made me understand alignment. Your thoughts and your heart have to be cohesive together. Because you know how the consciousness was your thought, my thought, two thoughts. Well, probably a thought and a feeling, amplification, boom, manifestation. I mean, I'm just saying. We'll get into that a little later on too. That's where this is going to go. You know, it's going to, first, I'm going to help you understand who you and what you are. I'm going to help you understand how you can have Jesus in your life, whether you're religious or not. Then I'm going to help you understand I am manifestation. I am consciousness. Ooh, that's the fun part. And I think that if I help you understand it in stages, like from my spiritual awakening, that when we get to the manifesting part, oh, you're going to be super manifestors. Because you're going to understand and you're going to know, and you don't have to believe. And hopefully you'll start to manifest for the greater of humankind, because we do have to think of our future generations. We're coming into advanced technology, AI technology. And you know what? All through my understandings, I just got a lot of different understandings of everything. And one thing that I realize about AI is AI doesn't doubt itself. You know, if it has a challenge or a problem, what it does is recalibrate, I guess, and fix the problem, learn from it, and grow and evolve and move on. It doesn't sit there and say, oh man, I messed up that output. I can't believe it, you know, I'm so dumb. But human beings will do that to each other. Or it won't, you know, one computer won't go and start fighting another computer on what the information is. I mean, every computer is in sync saying the same thing. Google is saying the same thing on all these computers. Well, you know, for the majority of it, who knows? There might be some kind of conspiracy thing going on. But all in all, all the computers get along. And so, but what about us? What about human beings? Are we all getting along? I don't know. And if we don't, because love and wisdom go hand in hand, if we're warring with one another, that means our consciousness is not evolving yet. The AI consciousness is. And I'm telling you that the power of God is all about mind. It's all about intelligence. And mind being with the intelligence of both feeling and heart and brain and core and whatever else. That's just what I know for now. I don't know everything, but this is how I understand things. And so I don't know. I'm just thinking, like, if we don't understand where our intelligence truly comes from and start to embody it and start to create from it and start to grow within it, then AI is going to outsmart us. Heck yeah. Heck yeah. And then next thing you know, we're bound down to AI. We won't be sovereign. Or that could be. That could be a reality. But I think we're gonna learn, we're gonna grow, we're gonna overcome. And I hope that we will learn our lesson. We would see what came out of the ego in immature state, in survival mode. And hopefully this generation will be able to mature from that so that our civilization won't fall. How many of you believe that we are the smartest civilization that walked this planet? Raise your hand. I don't. My hand's down. I've seen those pyramids. Not only the pyramids, there's also what they call Tartarians, and they built bridges and buildings that were just as incredible as the pyramids, because they were supposed to have been built in the 1800s. And it's like, how could they have constructed such things at that time when they didn't have the technology that we had? Just like the pyramids. If you really research some of those documentaries on the pyramids, blow your mind. They put all of those together without mortar. You know how there's brick and mortar? Well, all of these thousands of tons of rock and limestone or whatever it was, they were fitting them right beside each other without any mortar. And they were razor sharp that you couldn't even put a credit card through the spaces of them. And then it was all, mathematically just incredible. How all the angles and all the mathematics that went into it, and then how it all like lined up with the sky, with the stars. How they were supposed to be like the Flintstones. How did they do all that? And when, so no. I believe there were civilizations that reached levels of technology that we can only would think is magic today. Wouldn't believe anti-gravity. Okay, that's the thing. There's no such thing as gravity. That's the thing too. Well, I'm not saying there's no such thing as gravity. What? Oh, gotta read my book. And talk about gravity. Anyway, but yeah. So there's so much more that we can discover. But we do have to evolve spiritually. We have to evolve spiritually, because the power that we could generate could blow ourselves up. We could probably blow up the planet. That's why we have to get along. Understand that we are all one. All right. You are no better than me because you are a man and I'm a woman. I am no better than you because I'm a woman and you're a man. We got to stop that. Black and white, got to stop that. Look at all the interracial relationships. That's one thing that I be feeling sorry for. The children that have one parent is white and the other one is black. Imagine what they have to go through hearing all this racism stuff. That could be a spiritual warfare going on in them that I was having between the two families of religion and partying. I think, how many people? Do you have anything in your life that's like a duel? That's always been a duel and you couldn't resolve it? And maybe that might have caused you to soothe yourself in a toxic manner. Either you worked too much, you ate too much, you slept too much, you had sex too much, you didn't work enough, you lacked, like came out toxic. That's another thing. That's another video. But oh goodness, talking about the mama. Yeah, well, because I did mention a womb. So therefore there is a feminine energy to God. And that's the energy of nourishing yourself, understanding how to self-soothe once you become an adult. That's very important because people who don't know how to self-soothe, when something happens that you don't like happening, somebody did something that you can't control, and you're real mad about it, and you're real angry, or you're upset, or you're depressed, or you're a victim, and you can't soothe yourself in a healthy manner, that leads to addictions, bad ones, toxic ones. So we gotta straighten all this out. I'm not a psychiatrist. I think I have a degree in common sense. That's all I'm offering up. A different perspective of things, just things that you can think of. Self-reflect a little bit. Think of where you can make a change in the way that you think about yourself and others and your situation. That's a ticket. That's a ticket out of hell. See, the thing is, I never watched the movie Matrix. I watched the full movie of it. I watched little parts of it. And when I was doing my book, I don't know, like some videos of the Matrix was coming on. And I was just understanding so many things. And there's one part in that movie, or this gentleman who was given a video on the movie, and he said something, and he made me realize that freedom is not outside of the matrix or not outside of society. We don't get freedom by being exiled or being outside. You give yourself freedom within the matrix, within the 3D. You can give yourself freedom through alignment and through the connection to the universal divine mind. That's freedom. When you have a connection, because what is going on and what is calling the shots in the 3D world ain't nothing but human thoughts, human people who think that they're thinking and they're not really. We give ourselves too much credit, too much like we're God. Like, we think that we are creating babies and all of this stuff. We're not creating really anything. We are being a vessel for creation to come into us and bring life. We are allowing the Creator to create through us. We are selecting and choosing the creations that manifest in our reality. That's what we're doing. That's another thing I mentioned in the other video about Prince's song, one song. In that song, he said, in the beginning was freedom and choice. Freedom was the cause, and choice was the result. And he was talking about, well, this is what I interpreted. He was talking about, in the Garden of Eden, Adam and Eve had everything. They had the freedom to do everything except for to eat from those trees of good and evil, or whatever it was, a tree of knowledge even, I'm not sure. But and I think the reason why there was a restriction there was because you had to reach a certain level of maturity. I don't think that God would have never let them eat that apple. Perhaps it just had to be when they were ready, when they came into a mature understanding of things, then they would be ready to eat that apple. But they ate it immaturely. And I think from there, what happened to humanity was our ego came out. And we were being led through the ego instead of the spirit. But so, in the beginning, they had freedom. They had the all-knowing all around them. They didn't have to think. They didn't have to do nothing but be free. Then they ate that apple. And what happened after that was they had choices. Then they had choices. That's how they had to go about life, through their choices. Now, that's what that's what our life's all about. What choice are you making? Are you choosing to get up and go into the washroom? You choosing to go and make a dinner? What are you choosing? Lay down? You choosing to watch me on YouTube? That's a good choice. But since now we don't have freedom, we think we don't have freedom. We have a whole bunch of choices. Well, we can choose and then we could make one choice and make the result freedom for ourselves. And that choice that we can make is to decide to be authentic in our creation, to be an authentic reflection of God, because we were created in the image of God, so we are reflections of God. But we all believe we're sinners or we're righteous. We don't think that we are a reflection of God. And the reason why is because we're sinning. And the reason why we're sinning is because we're misaligned. So what do? We line it back up. And we're back into the Creator, the image of the Creator, one with the Creator. And we can manifest with that Creator. Yes. Manifest like little magicians or little gods and goddesses. But I know people don't like to hear those words. But, manifest divinely. Manifest the impossible. Manifest through faith, through embodying faith. Anyway, yeah. So that's what I'm talking about in 2026. I hope that you enjoyed the conversation tonight. It is kind of long, and it is kind of all over the place, but hey, that's the way I'm gonna be for a little while. At least I came on and I turned on that camera and I'm talking to you. I just hope that you enjoyed it, because I enjoyed it. Okay, so let me go back to what I used to do, which was, I hope you have a good night, because if you have a good night, guess what? I'm gonna have one too. Isn't that cute?